Welcome to Morganable, where we serve you with authentic news, stories, documentaries, updates, and magazine-style insights on our society and the larger world. And more importantly, about places that fall under the radar of the mainstream media machinery. We invite you to embark on this exciting journey of enlightenment with us. Morganable, your vehicle of enlightenment. It is the most side of what truly matters, the what aligns with our inner values and goals. Passion is not just a warm feeling, this is the fuel that drives innovation, perseverance, and fulfillment. Yet, many people find themselves stuck in jobs, relationships, or routines that drain rather than energize them. Why do so many people give up on the very things that once sparked joy in them? And how can we reclaim a sense of purpose by doing what genuinely aligns with our goals and makes us happy? From Silicon Valley, boardrooms to local Nigerian entrepreneurs, a growing number of people have started sharing their stories about the turning points in their lives, moments when they chose passion over pressure and fulfillment over fear. Whether it's Steve Jobs urging graduates to stay hungry, stay foolish, or Adenike Ogunlesi recounting her children's clothing brand was born out of passion. These stories are not just inspiring, they are instructive. Stay tuned to this content created fuel your passion, as this article explores what passion really means, why it is important to do the right things that brings you closer to your goals, and how you can start aligning your life with what really matters. Understanding passion. It is very important to understand passion because passion is one of those words we throw around often, yet deeply misunderstood. Many people say they are passionate about music, writing, cooking, or football, but there is a striking difference between merely liking something and being truly passionate about it. Let's reflect on liking versus passion, which is a crucial distinction. Liking something is positive. It is what you enjoy doing in your spare time, something that makes you smile but doesn't necessarily disrupt your life or compel action. Passion, on the other hand, is active. It is intense, consuming, and often comfortable. Passion wakes you up at night. It makes you try again after failure. It invites you to sacrifice comfort, sleep, and even money just to see an idea come alive. When you like painting, you do it on weekends. When you are passionate about painting, you can spend 12 hours on a piece, skip meals, and still feel fulfilled. Passion is a fire that refuses to go out, even when the world throws cold water on it. To justify this, we shall talk briefly on global figures who embodied passion. Let's start with Steve Jobs, the relentless visionary. In his legendary 2005 Stanford commencement address, Steve Jobs captured the essence of passion.
To be with you today for your commencement from one of the finest universities in the world. Truth be told, I never graduated from college, and this is the closest I've ever gotten to a college graduation. Today, I want to tell you 3 stories from my life. That's it. No big deal. Just 3 stories. The first story is about connecting the dots. I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why'd I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We've got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother found out later that my mother had never graduated from college and that my father had never graduated from high school. She refused to sign the final adoption papers. She only relented a few months later when my parents promised that I would go to college. This was the start in my life. And 17 years later, I did go to college. but I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford. And all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my college tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and no idea how college was going to help me figure it out. And here I was, spending all the money my parents had saved their entire life. So I decided to drop out and trust that it would all work out okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and begin dropping in on the ones that looked far more interesting. It wasn't all romantic. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles for the 5-cent deposits to buy food with. And I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple. I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into by following my curiosity and intuition turned out to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at that time offered perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I had dropped out and didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. And we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them.
After being fired from Apple, the very company he founded, Jobs didn't give up. He started again building Next and Pixar. Jobs' life was not smooth. He faced rejection, failure, and opposition, but his passion for design, innovation, and passion boundaries made him one of the most iconic figures in tech history. Let's go to Nigeria and talk about Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the literary powerhouse. The Nigerian author began writing as a child. The passion to her beyond just scribbling stories. It drove her to capture voices rarely heard in global literature. In a powerful interview at the Louisiana Museum of Modern Art, she reflected on confidence and curiosity as vital to her path.
I think that there are a lot of young people who want to write, love writing, are interested in writing, talk about writing, but don't actually write. And don't actually read either. So I often talk about how I think it's so important to read widely. And when I teach writing, I assign a lot of reading. I was kind of writing in a bit of a vacuum. I didn't have a writing community until much later. So I didn't really have people to whom I could turn for writing advice. So I would say that, if anything, I just learned by reading. So read very widely, actually write. Try and keep in touch with your writing every day. There's a sense in which young people think they have to have it all figured out when they're 19. And I'm thinking, no, you don't. And at least for me, writing has always been about trying. And so there are many things I've started and didn't finish, or haven't finished yet. Short stories I started 10 years ago, and it just wasn't working, and I left it alone. And so this idea somehow that you have to know you're on the right path, I don't think so. I think it's about trying.
Adichie's storytelling isn't driven by fame or awards. It is rooted in a deep passion to change narratives, change stereotypes, and humanize African voices globally. Shall we talk about the tech guru from South Africa, Elon Musk? For Elon Musk, passion looks like obsession. He taught himself rocket science, risked his personal fortune, and worked over 100 hours a week to build SpaceX and Tesla.
Certainly, I'd invite you to apply for a job at Solar City or Tesla or SpaceX. And if not, then if that doesn't work for whatever reason, then apply to jobs at other companies in that arena, or try starting a company. If something really makes sense, or if it's just what everybody else is doing, it's hard to think that way. You can't think that way about everything. It takes a lot of effort, but if you're trying to do something new, it's the best way to think. And that framework was developed by physicists to figure out counterintuitive things like quantum mechanics. So it's really a powerful method.
You can see Musk's journey as a case study in extreme passion, where drive meets discipline and the stakes are sky high. And this brings us to talking about the role of curiosity and consistency. Passion is not always love at first sight. Sometimes it begins with a question: why does this work that way? Curiosity is the spark. Passion is what keeps you coming back even when it is hard. But passion alone isn't enough. It needs consistency. Many people feel excited about an idea for a day or a week, only to give up when it gets tough. Passion needs time to mature. Just like a plant needs water, sunlight, and time to grow, passion needs efforts, learning, and resilience. Look at any successful person and you will see the same story. Hours spent honing the craft, countless failures, and a relentless desire to improve. Passion becomes real through habits. Understanding your passion isn't just about chasing dreams. It is about discovering what truly fuels your spirit and having the courage to pursue it despite obstacles. It is a mix of emotional intensity, mental curiosity, and the quiet decision to keep showing up. As Chimamanda once said in the same interview, passion needs courage to speak. It doesn't exist in silence. So, before moving forward in life, ask yourself, what keeps me up at night? In a good way. What failure am I willing to experience repeatedly because the pursuit is worth it? If you can answer that, you are on the path to understanding your passion. We shall talk about the conflict, passion versus pressure, in the pursuit of happiness and purpose. The road is rarely straight. Somewhere along the way, many of us find ourselves at a junction where passion stands on one side and pressure on the other. It is not always easy to choose. Society, family, and fear of unknown have a way of whispering louder than our inner voice. Let's briefly reflect on societal expectations versus personal dreams. It is true that the society we live in often defines success in narrow terms: stable income, prestige, a real job. This mindset can make passion look like a foolish luxury, something for the privileged, not the practical. If your dream doesn't come with a guaranteed paycheck, it is often dismissed. In many African cultures, including Nigeria, Ghana, etc., passion is frequently seen as secondary to survival. A child who wants to become a painter may be told, "You will starve." A boy with musical dreams may be warned, "Music won't build a future," and so dreams are folded into corners, tucked away to make space for professions that seem respectable or safe. But what if the only way to thrive, not just survive, is by doing what you were born for? And thankfully, we've heard youths out there talking about passion burning within them. Morganable spoke with an upcoming artist from Ekiti State, Cyril, who talks about his passion, what fuels it, and what he expects, including the joy he derives from it. Listen up. What is that thing you have deep interest in, and what serves as your inspiration and muse for it?
That and I have a very deep interest in is music, and is a source of my inspiration because music is very spiritual to me, and music serves as a source of joy and excitement for me because whenever I actually put myself into music or try to put my effort into music, it gives me some kind of chills and some kind of relievement. So I love to do music, and that is. And what inspires me to do music the more is the respect and the light say clouds I get from me, and also different kind of people get to know me, people get to reach out to me, and I get to pass many messages to people through my music. So that is what motivates me to do music.
So what's your side to,
those that are interested in music out there. So my advice to those interested in music, because you can be interested in music in two ways. You can be interested in making music, and you can be interested in listening to songs, and that is the part of music. So once you start to make music, you have to make different kind of genre of music. You don't just have to base on one particular type of music. You just have to touch different kind of parts of the music to make sure you keep your fans or people that are your audience, keep them on the move and keep updating them. Then whenever you listen to music too, you just try to connect better, listen to music to live, stuff like that.
And that is it from Cyril, who has just spoken about his passion, what fuels his passion, and what he expects, including the joy he derives. Let's reflect on parental influence, peer pressure, and fear of instability. Parental expectations are among the strongest forces that shape our choices. Many parents, out of love and fear, want their children to become doctors, lawyers, engineers. While their intentions are good, the pressure can be suffocating. Peer pressure adds another layer. Seeing classmates succeed in controversial peer pressure adds another layer. Seeing classmates succeed in conventional fields while you struggle to build something unconventional can sow doubt. And then there is the ever-present fear of instability. The idea that passion is risky, that it won't pay the bills, or that it might end in failure. But here is the truth. There is no true stability in doing what doesn't fulfill you. A job that pays well but drains your soul is just a well-decorated trap. Shall we reflect on the myth that passion can't pay bills? One of the biggest lies society tells us is that passion and money can't coexist, that you must choose between being broke and being fulfilled. But countless people around the world prove this myth wrong every single day. Let's begin with Hollywood mogul who was formerly homeless, Tyler Perry. In numerous interviews, Tyler Perry talked about being homeless for years, living out of his car and seeing his plays flop repeatedly. But his passion for storytelling and faith kept him going. Today, he owns a multi-million dollars film studio video. What about in the Nigerian music industry? We have a celebrity who chose music over medicine. Bukola Elemide, known as Asha. The Nigerian French singer Asha once considered studying medicine, but her heart belonged to music, and music resonated with her soul. She followed her passion despite uncertainty, and today she is one of Nigeria's most respected musical experts. Video. In a 2017 TED Talk, Nigerian photographer T.Y. Bello shared how many of her peers abandoned their creative dreams for bank jobs or oil company roles. Years later, many were unfulfilled, some depressed.
Because I still remember what it was like to stand at the Winn-Dixie on Buford Highway and have $20 and try to figure out how do I make this meal work for the week. I know what it's like to have my landlord knocking at the door and I'm in the bed hiding because I don't want him to knock on the door because I know he has an eviction notice. I know what it's like to be homeless here in Georgia. I know what it's like to have to scrape up enough money to get to stay at a pay-by-the-week hotel off of Buford Highway. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to sleep in my car wrapped in my grandmother's quilt because I had no place to go. I know what it's like to come from work and walk outside and realize that my car has been repossessed. So make no mistake, I know and I remember how hard it is, and I remember the struggle, and I also know, hear me, how expensive it is to be poor.
On the part of Nigerian said Julian Award speech, that he will never forget where he is coming from. He shows music and stuck with it. Final thoughts on the conflict. Choosing passion over pressure isn't easy. It may require unlearning what you were taught to value. It may mean starting with zero support, but the reward isn't just fame or wealth. It is space, authenticity, and freedom. The world doesn't need more people doing what they are told. It needs more people doing what they were made to do. So, dear listener, Morganable is saying you should ask yourself today, am I choosing safety over soul? What am I sacrificing? So, Morganable is telling you to ask yourself today, am I choosing safety over soul? What am I sacrificing by not choosing my passion? Who am I becoming in the process? Courage is not the absence of fear. It is a decision to act despite it. Find the strength to choose your passion in a world that constantly tells you to play safe. It's not a travel art. It is rebellious, radical, and sometimes even revolutionary, but it is also deeply liberating. Let's explore on how courage, confidence, and conviction come together to help individuals choose passion, even in the face of great odds. It is pertinent to recognize the inner voice. Often, the first step toward passion is simply listening. The inner voice, that persistent whisper that knocks you towards something bigger than you, is usually drowned out by noise, societal expectations, fear, responsibilities. But for many, passion begins with a decision to stop and listen. Let's learn from Oprah Winfrey. Oprah has often spoken about the power of listening to your inner voice. Despite being told she was too emotional for television and being fired from her first news anchor job, she followed her gut and ended up revolutionizing talk television.
My deepest regret is that I didn't take the time when I ended the Oprah show before I started the next thing. That is my deepest regret.
That's interesting.
And the reason why it carries and holds such power for me is because I thought about it and thought about it and I thought about it, and I didn't listen to my own inner voice, my own instinct about it, and I listened to everybody else. And every time I've ever made a mistake that I regretted, either large or small, and this was the biggest one, any time I've done that is when I diverted from listening to the still small voice that lives inside of all of us. And I did the thing that everybody said, well, you have to launch now and you have to do it now and you have to, and I have regretted it.
Want to listen to ourselves.
And I do, and I believe in that and I follow that. And the one time I didn't, I deeply regret it.
She was able to tell us the only courage you ever need is the courage to live the life you were meant to live. Let's talk about facing uncertainty and starting small. As you can see, courage doesn't always look like a leap. It often looks like a tiny step in the right direction. Passionate people don't wait until conditions are perfect. They start with what they have where they are. An example is a blogger from Nigeria who began from a humble beginning, and that is Linda Ikeji. Linda Ikeji, now one of Nigeria's most influential media moguls, started blogging from a cyber cafe. Her passion for storytelling and gossip news led to her push through mockery and rejection. Today, her platform influences millions daily. How do you deal with fear of judgment and rejection? One of the greatest barriers to courage is the fear of being judged. What if I fail? What will people say? What if I am not good enough? These fears are valid, but they are also conquerable. So we reflect on American singer Beyonce, who owns the stage in her voice.
Yes, I've been blessed to have 24 Grammys, but I've lost 46 times. That meant rejection 46 times. Please don't ever feel entitled to win. Just keep working harder. Surrender to the cards you are dealt. It's from that surrender that you get your power. Losing can be the best motivator to get you even bigger wins. So never compare yourself to anyone else.
Even someone as globally iconic as Beyonce has spoken about fear. In her documentary Life is But a Dream, she reveals how anxiety, expectations, and fear nearly consumed her, but she pushed through by owning her voice and purpose. And here she says, when you love something, your passion is stronger than your fear. Let's reflect briefly on building confidence through action. Courage is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Every act of boldness builds a foundation of belief, and often confidence grows not from success, but from facing failure and rising again. So we talk about the socialite who has been unapologetically different despite criticism. They really do. In Nigeria, made their personality, they really stood out for his eccentric style and loud personality. He was mocked, misunderstood, and even rejected, but he did not change to fit the mold. He used his uniqueness to break boundaries boundaries in entertainment. You see how he's reflecting on his difference and how he turned that into power. It is important to learn from repeated failure. People often think that successful individuals never failed. In reality, most passionate people failed multiple times. They used those failures to fuel, not shame. Example is Elon Musk, who went from bankruptcy threats to $1 billion breakthrough. Not every journey will get applause. Stay motivated in silence. In fact, some of the hardest seasons are those where no one is watching. But passion is most pure when it is done for love, not life. Setbacks hit harder when you are alone. Having people who believe in your dream, mentors, friends, communities can be the caution and the push you need. There is no passionate path that hasn't seen tears. But those tears are not a sign to stop. They are proof you are doing something that matters. Stay steady, stay sharp, stay sold on your dream even when no one is by. To live a passion-driven life is to intentionally create a life that aligns with what you deeply care about. It is about doing what lights up you, adding value to others, and still ensuring your life is financially, emotionally, and spiritually sustainable. Passion-driven people are not unclear. They have a vision, even if it's evolving. The first step to building a meaningful life is getting brutally and honest with yourself. You need to ask yourself, what do I have to win if when no one is watching? What do I want to be remembered for? What am I willing to struggle for? Create systems around your passion. A passion without a system becomes a hobby. A passion with structure becomes a life path. Systems include a schedule that reflects your priorities, financial plans to support your goals, daily habits that fuel your growth. It is important to make money with your passion without selling out. A lot of people abandon their passion because they think it can't pay the bills. If you have ever felt the tug of something deeper, something that excites you, scares you, and pulls you all at once, don't dismiss it. That feeling is your compass. Morganable says you should follow it, build a life around it, and in doing so, you just might light the path.
Thanks for watching us today and for joining us on our journey of enlightenment. Morganable, the vehicle of enlightenment.